In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful, I shall recount to you the extraordinary tale of the City of Brass, a story that demonstrates the vanity of earthly power and the inevitable fate that awaits those who forget their dependence upon the Almighty. During the glorious reign of the commander of the faithful, Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, when the Islamic Empire stretched from the shores of the Atlantic to the mountains of Central Asia, there came to the caliph's court in Damascus a learned man whose tales of distant lands and ancient mysteries captivated all who heard him speak. This scholar, whose name was Talib ibn Saul, had spent his life traveling to the remotest corners of the earth, studying the ruins of vanished civilizations and collecting artifacts from peoples whose very names had been forgotten by history. His beard was white from years of desert sun, his eyes bright with the accumulated wisdom of countless journeys, and his memory store more wonders than the libraries of Alexandria had ever contained. Talib ibn Saul prostrated himself before the golden throne and said,
Commander of the Faithful, I have come from the farthest reaches of the Maghrib, where the desert meets the sea and the sand dunes shift like ocean waves across the bones of ancient cities. There, beyond the limits of the known world, I have heard tales of a city so magnificent that it surpasses even Baghdad in splendor, yet so cursed that no living creature can enter its gates and return unchanged.
The Caliph Abd al-Malik, whose curiosity about the marvels of his vast domains was as great as his piety and wisdom, leaned forward with intense interest.
Tell us of this city, learned man. What makes it both magnificent and cursed?
Majesty, the Bedouins who wander the deepest desert speak in whispers of a city built entirely of brass and copper, whose walls gleam like fire in the sunlight, and whose towers pierce the sky like golden spears. They say it was built by King Suleiman, peace be upon him, to imprison rebellious jinn who had defied the will of Allah. Within its walls are treasures beyond imagination, but also dangers that have claimed the lives of every explorer who has attempted to penetrate its mysteries.
The Caliph's chief minister, Musa ibn Nusair, a man renowned throughout the empire for his military prowess and administrative skill, spoke from his position beside the throne.
My lord, if such a city exists, it represents both an opportunity to recover lost knowledge and artifacts for the glory of Islam, and a duty to investigate whether these imprisoned jinn pose any threat to the faithful.
Abd al-Malik nodded thoughtfully.
You speak wisely, Musa. The protection of our realm and the advancement of learning are both sacred responsibilities. We charge you to organize an expedition to locate this city of brass and report on whatever you discover there. Take with you our finest scholars, our bravest warriors, and our most experienced guides. I hear and obey, Commander of the Faithful,
replied Musa ibn Nusair, already beginning to plan the logistics of such an ambitious undertaking. The preparation for this expedition took several months, during which Musa assembled a company worthy of its extraordinary mission. He selected his finest men and sought the counsel of the great men of his province. They told him,
O Emir, if you desire guidance to that place, have recourse to the Sheikh Abd al-Samad, for he is a knowing man, and has traveled much, and he is acquainted with the deserts and wastes and the seas, and their inhabitants and their wonders, and the countries and their districts.
So Musa summoned Abd al-Samad, and when he came before him, lo, he was a very old man whom the vicissitudes of years and times had rendered decrepit. Musa saluted him and said,
O Sheikh Abd al-Samad, our Lord the Prince of the Faithful has commanded us to journey to the city of brass and the land where the bottles of Solomon are found. Do you have a wish to accomplish the affair of the Prince of the Faithful?
The sheikh replied,
Know, Emir, that this route is difficult, far extending with few tracks. It is a journey of 2 years and some months going, and the like returning. And on the way are difficulties and horrors and extraordinary and wonderful things. But God will assuredly make this affair easy to us through the blessing attendant upon you, O Viceroy of the Prince of the Faithful.
The caravan that departed from Damascus in the spring of the year was magnificent to behold. Hundreds of camels carrying supplies for months in the desert, horses of the finest Arabian bloodlines, tents and equipment of the highest quality, and provisions that would allow the expedition to maintain the dignity appropriate to representatives of the commander of the faithful even in the remotest wilderness. Their journey westward took them first through the settled provinces of Syria and Egypt, where they were received with honor by local governors and supplied with additional guides familiar with regional conditions. From Alexandria, they traveled along the Mediterranean coast to the limits of the civilized world, then turned south into the vast Sahara Desert that stretched beyond the horizon like a sea of golden sand. For 40 days and 40 nights, they traveled deeper into the wilderness, following ancient caravan routes that had not been used for generations. The heat during the day was so intense that the metal of their weapons and tools became too hot to touch, while the nights were so cold that water froze in the leather bags despite the warmth of their campfires. Abd al-Samad proved to be a navigator of extraordinary skill, guiding them by the positions of stars and reading signs in the sand and wind that revealed the presence of water and safe campsites. Under his direction, they encountered none of the disasters that typically befell travelers in these trackless wastes. During their journey, they came upon a palace standing alone in the desert. Abd al-Samad said,
"Advance with us to this palace, which presenteth a lesson to him who will be admonished."
They found it open, with lofty angles and steps of color marbles. Over the entrance was a slab with an inscription in ancient script, which Abd al-Samad read aloud. It was poetry that spoke of a people wept over for their lost dominion, and how death had destroyed them, and they had lost what they amassed. Musa wept and said,
"There is no deity but God, the living, the enduring, without failure."
They viewed the palace and found it devoid of inhabitants, its courts desolate. In the midst was a chamber with a dome, around which were many tombs. Near the dome was a long tomb with a tablet of iron, and Abd al-Samad read its inscription. It told of one who had reigned in glory, whose armies numbered 1,000,000, who possessed immeasurable wealth. Yet death came, and all was left behind. Again Musa wept at the fates of the people. They found a table upon 4 legs of alabaster, whereon was inscribed,
"Upon this table have eaten 1,000 one-eyed kings, and 1,000 kings each sound in both eyes. All of them have quitted the world, and taken up their abode in the burial grounds and the graves."
Musa took only the table from the palace, and they continued their journey. After many more days of travel, as they crested a particularly high dune, there appeared to them in the distance a great black object, with 2 fires corresponding with each other in position. Musa said to Abd al-Samad,
"What is this great black object, and these 2 corresponding fires?"
The guide answered,
"Be rejoiced, O Emer, for this is the city of brass. I find it described in the book of hidden treasures. Its wall is of black stones, and it has 2 towers of brass, which the beholder sees resembling 2 corresponding fires, and thence it is named the city of brass." Behold, the city of brass appears before us, just as the ancient text described. Observe how its walls seem to capture and reflect the light of the sun, and how its towers soar toward heaven as if challenging the very sky.
As they approached, the full magnificence of the city became apparent. The walls rose to heights of 80 cubits, constructed of black stones fitted so perfectly that not even a knife blade could penetrate the joints. The gates were of brass adorned with inscriptions in ancient scripts. The towers were marvels of architectural achievement, some cylindrical, others square or octagonal. What struck them as most mysterious was the complete absence of any signs of life. No smoke rose from cooking fires, no guards walked upon walls, no sounds of human activity emanated from within. The surfaces showed no signs of corrosion or decay, as if time itself had been suspended. Musa ibn Nusayr ordered the expedition to make camp at a respectful distance from the walls. They stopped before the city and endeavored to discover one of its gates, but they could not. Abd al-Samad said,
O Emer, I find it described in the book of hidden treasures that it has 25 gates, and that none of its gates may be opened, but from within the city. And how can we contrive to enter it, and divert ourselves with a view of its wonders?
Musa ordered one of his young men to mount a camel and ride around the city to search for a gate. The man circled it for 2 days and nights, prosecuting his journey with diligence, and when the third day arrived, he returned and said,
O Emer, the easiest place in it is this place at which you have alighted.
Then Musa took Talib and Abd al-Samad, and they ascended a mountain opposite the city. When they reached the top, they saw a city with lofty pavilions and shining domes, with rivers running and trees fruitful. It was a city with impenetrable gates, empty and still, without a voice but the owl hooting in its quarters and the raven croaking in its streets, bewailing those who had been in it. Musa fainted with sorrow, his tears ran down upon his cheeks, and he said,
By Allah, indifference to the world is the most appropriate and the most sure course.
When they came back to the troops, they passed the day devising means of entering the city. Musa said to his chief officers,
How shall we contrive to enter the city, that we may see its wonders? Perhaps we shall find in it something by which we may ingratiate ourselves with the Prince of the Faithful.
Talib replied,
Let us make a ladder and mount upon it, and perhaps we shall gain access to the gate from within.
The Emir agreed, and he called to the carpenters and blacksmiths, and ordered them to construct a ladder covered with plates of iron. They employed themselves in constructing it a whole month, and many men were occupied in making it. They set it up and fixed it against the wall, and it proved to be equal to the wall in height. Musa wondered at it and said,
God bless you. It seems, from the excellence of your work, as though you had adapted it by measurement to the wall.
He then said to the people,
Which of you will ascend this ladder and mount upon the wall and walk along it, and contrive means of descending into the city, that he may see how the case is, and then inform us of the mode of opening the gate?
One of them answered,
I will ascend it, O Emer, and descend and open the gate.
Mount. God bless thee.
The man ascended the ladder until he reached the top of it. He stood and fixed his eyes toward the city, clapped his hands, and cried out with his loudest voice.
Such beautiful.
Then he cast himself down into the city and was destroyed. Musa said,
If we do thus with all our companions, there will not remain of them one, and we shall be unable to accomplish our affair. Depart now, for we have no concern with this city.
But another said,
Perhaps another than this may be more steady than he.
A second ascended, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and they ceased not to ascend by that ladder to the top of the wall, one after another, until 12 men had gone, acting as the first did. Therefore Abd al-Samad said,
There is none for this affair but myself, and the experienced is not like the inexperienced.
Musa said to him,
You shall not do that, nor will I allow you to ascend to the top of this wall, for should you die, you would be the cause of the death of us all, since you are the guide of the party.
The sheik, however, replied,
Perhaps the object will be accomplished by my means, through the will of God, whose name be exalted.
All the people agreed to his ascending. Abd al-Samad arose, and having said,
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful.
He ascended the ladder, repeating the praises of God and reciting the verses of safety, until he reached the top of the wall. There he clapped his hands and fixed his eyes. The people therefore all called out to him,
O Sheikh Abd al-Samad, do not cast thyself down. If Abd al-Samad fall, we all perish.
Abd al-Samad sat a long time repeating the praises of God and reciting the verses of safety, after which he rose with energy and called out with his loudest voice,
O Emer, no harm shall befall you, for God has averted from me the effect of the artifice of the devil.
Musa said to him,
What have you seen, O Sheikh?
He answered,
When I reached the top of the wall, I beheld 10 damsels, like moons, who made a sign with their hands, as though they would say, "Come to us." And it seemed to me that beneath me was a sea of water, whereupon I desired to cast myself down, as our companions did. But I beheld them dead. So I withheld myself from them, and recited some words of the book of God, whereupon he averted from me the influence of those damsels, and they departed. There is no doubt that this is an enchantment which the people of this city contrived in order to repel from it every one who should wish to obtain access to it.
He then walked along the wall until he came to the 2 towers of brass. He saw that they had gates of gold, without any sign of the means of opening them. Looking attentively, he saw in the middle of one of the gates a figure of a horseman of brass, having one hand extended, as though pointing with it, and on it was an inscription which he read.
Turn the pin that is in the middle of the front of the horseman's body 12 times, and then the gate will open.
So he turned the pin 12 times, whereupon the gate opened immediately with a noise like thunder, and the sheik entered. He walked on until he entered a long passage, whence he descended some steps, and he found a place with handsome wooden benches, on which were people dead. Over their heads were elegant shields and keen swords and strung bows and notched arrows. Behind the next gate were a bar of iron and barricades of wood and locks and strong apparatus. Abd al-Samad said within himself,
Perhaps the keys are with these people.
Then he looked, and lo, there was a sheik who appeared to be the oldest of them, upon a high wooden bench among the dead men. Abd al-Samad said,
May not the keys of the city be with this sheik? Perhaps he was the gatekeeper of the city, and these were under his authority.
He drew near to him and lifted up his garments, and lo, the keys were hung to his waist. At the sight of them, Abd al-Samad rejoiced exceedingly. He took the keys, opened the locks, and pulled the gate and the barricades, which opened, and the gate also opened with a noise like thunder. Abd al-Samad exclaimed,
God is most great.
And the people made the same exclamation with him, rejoicing at the event. Musa also rejoiced at the safety of Abd al-Samad and at the opening of the gate of the city. The people thanked him for what he had done, and all the troops hastened to enter the gate. But Musa cried out to them, saying,
O people, if all of us enter, we shall not be secure from accident. Half shall enter, and half shall remain behind.
Musa then entered the gate, and with him half of the people, who bore their weapons of war. Inside the city, the party found their fallen companions and buried them. The city was eerily preserved. Shops stood open, goods and treasures untouched, but all the merchants and inhabitants were long dead, their bodies dried and lifeless. They moved through markets filled with silks, jewels, gold, and perfumes, but everywhere they looked, the owners were dead, as if frozen in time. The group pressed on and discovered a grand palace, its halls and chambers richly decorated with gold, silver, and precious stones. Inside, they found more treasures, chests of brocades, weapons, and vessels of gold and crystal. Taking what they could carry, the soldiers explored further, passing through ornate doors and marble passages adorned with images of animals and birds made from gold and jewels. They entered a dazzling dome, more beautiful than anything they had seen, with a pavilion of brocade and columns of red gold. There, by a sparkling fountain, lay a couch covered in pearls and gems, upon which rested a beautiful, lifelike damsel, adorned in brilliant pearls and a crown of red gold. She appeared almost alive, her eyes shining as if watching the party, though she was clearly preserved in death. The sight left the explorers in awe, marveling at the splendor and mystery of the lost city. When Musa beheld this damsel, he wondered extremely at her loveliness, and was confounded by her beauty, and the redness of her cheeks, and the blackness of her hair. Any beholder would imagine that she was alive, and not dead. They said to her,
Peace be on you, O damsel.
But Talib said to the emir,
May God amend your state. Know that this damsel is dead. There is no life in her. How, then, can she return the salutation?
and he added,
O Emer, she is skillfully embalmed, and her eyes have been taken out after her death, and quicksilver has been put beneath them, after which they have been restored to their places, so they gleam. And whenever the air puts them in motion, the beholder imagines that she twinkles her eyes, though she is dead.
As to the couch upon which was the damsel, it had steps, and upon the steps were two slaves, one of them white and the other black, and in the hand of one of them was a weapon of steel, and in the hand of the other a jeweled sword that blinded the eyes. Before the two slaves was a tablet of gold, whereon was read an inscription, which was this:
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Praise be to God, the creator of man, and he is the Lord of lords, and the cause of causes. O you, if you know me not, I will acquaint you with my name and my descent. I am Tedmer, the daughter of the king of the Amalekites. I possessed what none of the kings possessed, and ruled with justice, and acted impartially toward my subjects. I gave and bestowed, and I lived a long time in the enjoyment of happiness and an easy life, and possessing emancipated female and male slaves. Thus I did until the summoner of death came to my abode, and disasters occurred before me. And the case was this: 7 years in succession came upon us, during which no water descended on us from heaven, nor did any grass grow for us on the face of the earth. So we ate what food we had in our dwellings, and after that we fell upon the beasts and ate them, and there remained nothing. Upon this, therefore, I caused the wealth to be brought, and meted it with a measure, and sent it by trusty men, who went about with it through all the districts, not leaving unvisited a single large city, to seek for some food. But they found it not, and they returned to us with the wealth, after a long absence. So thereupon we exposed to view our riches and our treasures, locked the gates of the fortresses in our city, and submitted ourselves to the decree of our Lord, committing our case to our master, and thus we all died, as you can see, and left what we had built and what we had treasured. This is our story. Whoever arrives at our city and enters it, let him take of the wealth what he can, but not touch anything that is on my body, for it is the covering of my person. Therefore let him fear God, and not seize any of it, for he would destroy himself. Peace be on you. I beg God, moreover, to save you from the evil of trials and sickness.
Musa, when he heard these words, again wept and was admonished by what he witnessed. He then said to his companions,
Bring the sacks and fill them with part of these riches, and these vessels and rarities and jewels.
Thereupon Talib, the son of Saul, said to Musa,
O Emer, shall we leave this damsel with the things that are upon her? They are things that have no equal, nor is the like of them at any time found, and they are more than the riches you have taken, and will be the best present by which you may ingratiate yourself with the Prince of the Faithful.
But the Emir replied,
Did you not hear that which the damsel has given as a charge in the inscription upon this tablet? Moreover, and especially, she has given it as a charge offered in confidence, and we are not of the people of treachery.
Talib, however, said,
And on account of these words will you leave these riches and these jewels when she is dead? What then should she do with these things which are the ornaments of the world and the decoration of the living? With a garment of cotton might this damsel be covered, and we are more worthy of the things than she.
Then he drew near to the steps and ascended them until he reached the spot between the two slaves. And lo, one of these two smote him upon his back, and the other smote him with the sword that was in his hand, and struck off his head, and he fell down dead. So Musa said,
May God not regard with mercy your resting place. There was in these riches a sufficiency, and covetousness dishonors the person in whom it exists.
He thereupon gave orders for the entry of the troops, who accordingly entered, and they loaded the camels with part of those riches and minerals, after which Musa commanded them to close the gate as it was before. They then proceeded along the seacoast until they came in sight of a high mountain overlooking the sea. In it were many caves, and lo, in these was a people of the blacks, clad in hides, and with burnouses of hides upon their heads, whose language was not known. When they saw the troops, they ran away from them and fled, while their women and their children stood at the entrances of the caves. So Musa said,
O Sheikh Abd al-Samad, what are these people?
and he answered,
These are the objects of the inquiry of the Prince of the Faithful.
They therefore alighted, and the tents were pitched, and the riches were put down. They had not rested when the king of the blacks came down from the mountain and drew near to the troops. He was acquainted with the Arabic language, wherefore when he came to Musa, he saluted him, and the emir returned his salutation and treated him with honor. Then the king of the blacks said to the emir,
Are you of mankind, or of the genies?
The emir answered,
As to us, we are of mankind. And as to you, there is no doubt but that you are of the genies, because of your seclusion in this mountain that is separated from the world, and because of the greatness of your make.
But the king of the blacks replied,
Nay, we are a people of the race of Adam, of the sons of Ham, the son of Noah, on whom be peace. And as to this sea, it is known by the name of El-Karkar.
Musa then said to him,
We are the associates of the king of Islam, Abd al-Malik, the son of Marwan, and we have come on account of the bottles of brass that are here in your sea, and wherein are the devils imprisoned from the time of Solomon, the son of David. He has commanded us to bring him some of them, that he may see them, and divert himself by the view of them.
And the king of the blacks replied,
Most willingly.
Then he feasted him with fish, and ordered the divers to bring up from the sea some of the bottles of Solomon, and they brought up for them 12 bottles. Musa was delighted, and Abd al-Samad also, and the soldiers, on account of the accomplishment of the affair of the Prince of the Faithful. Musa thereupon presented to the king of the blacks many presents, and gave him large gifts. In like manner, too, the king of the blacks gave to Musa a present consisting of wonders of the sea. Then they bade him farewell, and they journeyed back until they came to the land of Syria, and went in to the Prince of the Faithful. Musa acquainted him with all that he had seen, and all that had occurred to him with respect to the verses and histories and admonitions, and told him of the case of Talib the son of Saul. And the Prince of the Faithful said to him,
Would that I had been with you, that I might have beheld what you beheld.
He then took the bottles and proceeded to open one after another, and the devils came forth from them, saying,
Repentance, O prophet of God! We will not return to the like conduct ever.
And Abd al-Malik the son of Marwan wondered at this. After this, the Prince of the Faithful caused riches to be brought before him, and divided them among the people. And he said,
God has not bestowed upon any one the like of what he bestowed upon Solomon, the son of David.
This is the end of that which has come down to us of the history of the city of Brass in Tyre. And God is all-knowing.